What is good? What is good? We're here on a Wednesday. Things are looking good for the Steelers. I don't have much more to add to that for the intro. The weather's been cold in Pittsburgh. Do I just do, the old guy thing whenever you have nothing to talk about? The weather? Just go to that. It's freezing. I mean, yesterday was the coldest day in Pittsburgh. Wind chill, coldest day of the year in Pittsburgh, 2023. Wind chill was like in the teens. Today, it's like wind chill in the 20s. So there's that. I don't really have too much to add right now. Things are looking good outside of the Diontae incident, which we'll talk about a little bit in the Steelers Deekly intro. Not much negative, only good. It seems like we are heading in the right direction. So why don't I just get into it? Let's go into Steelers Deekly. Let's talk the 4 or 5 things that's circulating across the internet, Steelers internet, and we'll react to it. Give our takes. So first, we got our annual Hines Ward, James Harrison. They are semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, class of 2024. We've been through this how many years? This is seriously an annual thing. Hines, James Harrison, semifinalists. Then I think they typically make it to the next round, right? They make it to the finalist. And then isn't there another step after the finalists? Then it's like the guys that actually get enshrined. Usually they make it to the second level. We get our hopes up, and then it's clear the NFL has a biasness against the Steelers, and Hines Ward and James Harrison don't get in. Because I was just thinking about this before I hit the live button. I was like, why aren't these dudes getting in? Because Hines Ward has all the accolades, Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion. He has the 1,000-catch threshold. I think he has over 10,000 yards. Like, he has the numbers, if not better numbers, than a bunch of other receivers that have already made it. And he's got the clutch moments, the playoff runs, the Super Bowl MVP. Like, he has all that. He has every box mark checked. And he changed the game at the wide receiver position in, that 2000s period for being such a big-time blocker. And then James Harrison, same thing. You look at his numbers, there are dudes that are making the Hall of Fame right now. The NFL has softened up. They've almost got like the NBA Hall of Fame where they're letting guys in that, 10, 20 years ago, they typically haven't let in. James Harrison's numbers, his sack numbers are better than dudes that are already getting in. And he had probably one of the best 5-year runs for an edge rusher in NFL history. Whenever he was winning depoys, making Pro Bowls, winning Super Bowls, and having arguably the best play in Super Bowl history. I'm going to lean the Big Ben pass to Santonio Holmes, but James Harrison, the interception return off Kurt Warner right before halftime, I'll put that at 2, at least in the top 3. So he's got everything to make it to the Hall of Fame. Like, I'm just wondering, why aren't these dudes getting in? There has to be an anti-biasness against the Steelers, or there's specifically an anti-biasness against Hines and James for the way they played. A lot of people viewed Hines as a dirty receiver. A lot of people viewed James Harrison as a dirty defensive player with some of the hits that he was taking or delivering and punishing to opposing offenses. And, he had that spat with Roger Goodell. So I'm wondering if any of that is playing into this, because based off the accolades, based off the numbers, Hines Ward and James Harrison are Hall of Famers. There's no doubt about it. Now let's get a little bit into this upcoming game against the Cardinals. We got Patrick Peterson. Actually, we got a couple revenge games going on, or revenge moments for this upcoming game. With Patrick Peterson going up against the Cardinals, the team that drafted him, the team that he established a Hall of Fame career at. And then you got James Conner going up against his former team, Pittsburgh Steelers. But Pat P wasn't mincing words on how to contain Kyler Murray, on how we should play defense against him. And he's pretty much, some could say he took a shot, or he took this to the next level. You could see on the Steelers Depot tweet, Pat P knows Kyler Murray's weakness is throwing from the pocket. God didn't give him height. Also goes on to say, I think that's going to be our biggest challenge, to keep him in that pocket and be able to disguise different coverages in the back end. He's being straight up. He's being honest. Like, that is the way to beat Kyler Murray. Whenever he gets outside the pocket and can scramble and do things with his legs, that's when he's most dangerous. But a lot of Steeler fans are like, bro, Pat P, can you just keep your mouth shut? You've been running your mouth a little bit too much on your podcast this year, and the play hasn't been backing it up. Now, recently it has. These last 3-4 weeks, I think Pat P has been a godsend. He's turned back the clock. But he even made the comment going back with Zay Flowers. Remember when we were playing Baltimore? He called him a little munchkin. I mean, I think we just have to accept Pat P is in the veteran stage of his career. Was he like 33? Once you get to that point, you made your money. Dude's got a Hall of Fame career. I think he's just going to say whatever he wants. And as long as he's backing it up, as long as he's playing like he has been these last 3-4 weeks, whatever. Now, I don't think this is really bulletin board material. I just think he's being straight up. Kyler Murray is not a tall guy. So, yes, it goes hand in hand that he could be struggling when he's in the pocket, seeing over the offensive line, seeing some coverages. When he gets outside the pocket, things will open up for him. Like, he's not lying here. I don't think this is a direct shot at Kyler Murray. Now, Pat P did say something last year on his podcast where, Kyler was going through his ACL injury and stuff. And apparently Kyler wasn't sticking up for Kingsbury as much as he could have. And Pat P said, Kyler Murray just cares about Kyler Murray, and that's it. So they had a little bit of a back and forth. They had a little bit of a beef back in 2022. So I wonder if this has anything to do with it, but I also think Pat P isn't wrong. And don't think this is, this comment right here, I don't think this is the biggest bulletin board material that you could have, really. I don't think it's that bad. But then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and this has been prevalent amongst Steeler news over the last few days, the Diontae fumble, whenever Jaylen Warren fumbled it, his attempt to try to tackle the Bengals guy that picked it up. It wasn't optimal. We all saw it. Wasn't something good to put out there on tape. Not good effort. So Mike Tomlin addressed it yesterday. People that were at the press conference asked him about it. And here was his response. He said, Diontae can't let emotions of the previous down affect the next down. Tomlin also said he'll let Diontae Johnson address the situation with the media and his teammates. I think Tomlin handled this perfectly. No reason to try to make it a bigger deal than what it is. Like, what are we going to do going forward? Are you really going to bench Diontae and hurt the team in the upcoming game? No, that doesn't make sense. To me, you heard me say it on the last stream, this is more of a one-off for Diontae. We haven't seen him not give 100% effort out there on a consistent basis. This is more like a one-off. He didn't think it was a fumble. I was thinking the same thing. Now, in the moment, that's not the way to go about it. You got to play like it's every last down, and you never know because the refs didn't blow the whistle. So if Connor Hayward didn't go out there and tackle that Bengal, then maybe the Bengals take it back to the house and the game plays out in a different way. So as long as the refs aren't blowing the whistle, you got to be out there giving 100% effort. But apparently, according to Jeremy Fowler, Steelers teammates and coaches talked with the receiver Diontae Johnson this week about his lack of effort following Jaylen Warren's fumble in Sunday's win over Cincy. Source says Johnson was very accountable about his mistake. He was frustrated by the near touchdown on the previous play, essentially zoned out. Steelers believe they're in a good place with Johnson moving forward. So, non-story. Really non-story. Johnson even addressed the media today and said, yeah, it was my bad. It was a bad thing to put on tape. That's not me. Plan to fix it going forward. That's about it. He said his teammates weren't really like bashing him or anything about it. Like, they know what it was. Bad moment, but hey, let's get things right for the next game. But who's in the chat today? Big shout out to you guys. Big shout out to you guys for stopping through, giving your takes, letting me give takes, hearing me out. Let me get this off the screen real quick. See who's in the house today. Ike Dixon is calling for 404 touchdowns for KP8 on Sunday. I'm hoping so. Man. Cardinals team, Cardinals defense ain't really all that. Jay Brown Steelers says, yeah, we should destroy the Cards. It's not the mentality the team should have going into the game. They should not be overlooking their opponent because we know what happens. When you do that, you can have some Tomlin losses. You can have some hiccups. we need to win every game. Like, that's the thing. I just don't see this as being a Tomlin loss coming up. We should be confident. We should be feeling good about ourselves, but we got to be doing what we did against the Bengals way more consistently going forward. We got 6 more games, man. We got 6 more games, and we're going to be talking about that. How do the Steelers win the AFC North over these next 6 games? And it's very doable, not far-fetched at all. It's not even far-fetched that we get a 1 seed or we get like a top 2 or 3 seed in the whole AFC. Steelers Bro 7 says, talk about how we will win the North. I want to win it. I do too. Hollywood 7 says, what's up, Deke? DJ will bounce back. That's not him. 100%. Roman Glow 13, TJ for Depoy. Yeah, I think it's between him and DaRon Bland. DaRon Bland got those 5 pick sixes. That's tough. If he gets like another one and TJ doesn't break the sack record, that's going to be a tough one to beat for TJ. 5 pick sixes in a season. Now, TJ's hands down the best defensive player in the league. You heard Tomlin say it yesterday. There's no doubt about that. But for an individual season, I could see the writers being enamored with the 5 pick sixes. Something that does not happen too often. It's never happened, right? Like, that has never happened in a season. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. But I think TJ's got a chance. He just needs to keep being TJ Watt. At least get a sack each of these next 6 games, which is possible, but then get a game or 2 where you get multi-sacks, and then you could be hovering over the record. You could be hovering around the record, break the record, 23, make another splash play or 2 with a forced fumble, maybe get a touchdown. I think TJ could win it. S. Valencia 7, Jalen Warner and Najee Harris, more yards this week. Jay Brown Steelers says, Deke, turn the heat off on your crib. Yeah, that's the problem. I got this heater right next to me, and before the stream started too, as you can see, I'm missing my mic. I couldn't find the missing piece for like my mixer, so I was running all over the house trying to find it. It's usually sitting right here. I don't know what I did with it yesterday, but yeah, that's why I'm a little hot right now. That's why I'm a little hot. You got the heater right next to me. It was just going for the last like 10 minutes. I got this hoodie on. It is a fresh hoodie. You can't go wrong with just an all black hoodie. But yeah, that's why I'm using the terrible towel right now. Try to cool myself off. Camp Ledemic. Deke, been a fan for years, only speaking truth. This team needs to stay disciplined. What do you think about the run game next week? Just keep doing what we're doing in the run game. Get a $150 with Jalen, Najee Harris at least. Keep feeding them the rock. El Vinci says, bro, can you get the predictions? Yep, I'll do that right now. I'm just rambling. I'm just chopping it up with you guys in the chat. So why did the Steelers win the AFC North? Or how do they do it? Well, we talked about it. You just got to win out. You know, you got 6 games. Just keep winning games. Your chances will increase by doing that. But how is that going to be possible? One, it's just in-house, our team. This should be the best version of the 2023 Steelers that we see all season for these next 6 games. You got the offense, obviously looking up after firing Matt Canada. First 400-yard game in the last 3 years we just accomplished against Cincinnati Bengals. We were 6-4 heading into that Cincy game with an inept offense, with a lackluster offense. What type of team or what type of record can we be with like a top 15 at least type of offense, a top 10 offense? Because if you look at the stats from last week's game, that was a top 10 offense. 400-plus yards, total offense, 150 on the ground. Kenny almost had 300 yards. All the first downs, the third down conversions. The only thing we were missing were the points. And we had some mishaps in the red zone, but that's going to happen. You put those stats together and you keep doing that week in and week out, that's the top 10 offense. 6-4 with an offense that wasn't top 10. That was what we were in the bottom like 5, right? By a lot of statistical metrics. Now we were winning games, but we were getting outgained, not putting up 400 total yards, only averaging 16 points per game. What if we could just at least become an average to above average offense, which we're trending in that way after that Bengals game. We just got to keep doing it. And then on the defensive side, this should be the best we see the defense. And the defense has been awesome like these last 3 or 4 weeks. But it's only going to be getting better. Why? Because we're getting our second best defensive player on the team back next week in Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think next week. They're saying he is looking like he's going to play. But either way, we're going to get him for the home stretch. We're going to get him for December when you really want to start heating up and be cooking, right? Getting hot at the right time. We're going to have our second best defensive player back. Like, our defense has already been playing really good without him, but now we're going to get him back. Cam Hayward, he just got back from injury like 3 weeks ago. He's still knocking the rust off, but he's getting back to Cam Hayward of old. You also got our no-name players in Trenton Thompson, Michael Walker, guys that we called up from the practice squad with little experience to no experience prior. Playing well, like in these last 2 games, these guys have been playing well. So they should only be improving as they get more acclimated to the Steelers system and more comfortable out there. But then we also made the signings of Miles Jack and Blake Martinez. We got them on the back burner in case we need help at inside linebacker. Those are 2 very proven guys in the league. Pat P, mentioned him with, the Kyler Murray comments. He's playing his best ball. He named the last time he's gotten cooked. JPJ, he's locking up receivers on a consistent basis. Last week, Jamar Chase, only 2 catches. And Jamar Chase is probably going to be the best receiver that JPJ goes up against for the latter half of this season. He's only going to be getting better. He's getting some defensive rookie of the year consideration. You guys brought it up, but there's not too many other guys out there that are in the running. I know Jalen Carter, but I think JPJ is going to be in the mix for the top 3 or 4 guys for defensive rookie of the year. He's not taking a step back. He's only getting started. You got the D-line cooking, Keanu Benton, Ogunjobi. I already mentioned Cam Hayward. Our edge rushers, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith. TJ's playing at elite level. Now, we could use a little bit more from Highsmith, but that's still a very, very deadly duo for offensive lines. Special teams, Boswell, kicking really good. I don't want to go any further because I don't want to jinx him, but we know what level of play Boz has been at this year. Like, he's been elite. He's been very much elite. So we're going to have the best version of the Steelers of 2023 for these last 6 games. And we're already 7-4 with, for the most part, a lackluster offense and dealing with injuries on defense. Now we're going to be healthy on defense, and our offense should be better since we fired Matt Canada. So, yeah, there's that. I think our team will just be better. Like, we are going to be getting hot at the right time, the time that you want to be getting hot at, just as you're about to make it to the playoffs. But also, let's talk schedule, because that's the second reason I think we have a really good chance to win the AFC North. We have the 7th easiest schedule remaining in the entire NFL. Meanwhile, Baltimore has the hardest remaining schedule in the NFL. And the other 2 AFC North teams, Cincy, they have the 3rd hardest remaining schedule. Cleveland has the 12th easiest. But I'm not as worried about Cincy and Cleveland because of their quarterback situations. I think Cleveland is going to continue to trend down, and Cincy, their season was over when Joe Burrow got hurt. Now, Cleveland may be in the mix, the last week or 2 of the season, but I think it's only going to be for like the 6th or 7th seed. It's going to be a wild card type of situation for them. But if you look at our schedule versus the Baltimore Ravens, here's the comparisons. We have Arizona next week, New England on Thursday Night Football after that, Indianapolis, week 15, Cincy, week 16, without Joe Burrow. We should be the favorites in all those games, right? We should be 4-0. Seattle, New Year's Eve, at the Seahawks, out on the West Coast, and then week 18 at Baltimore. Those are going to be our 2 tougher games of the last 6. But that's the 7th easiest schedule. You mean to tell me we're not going to be, or we shouldn't be 4-0 those first 4 games, which would make our record 11-4 heading into the last 2. And we can beat Seattle and we could beat Baltimore. Why not? We already beat Baltimore. earlier this season when we didn't have much of an offense. And now Baltimore helped us. We know they made a lot of drops. They dropped some touchdowns. And then Seattle, I don't think they're as good as what they made it seem earlier in the season. They've been slipping up. I don't think Seattle's all that. It's going to be a tough game, tough environment. We get it. Traveling on the road, West Coast. But, man, let's just say we go 4-0, and then you split the last two. 5-1. That's 12-5 for the season. Is that enough to win the AFC North? I'd say so. Look at Baltimore's remaining games. They got LA Rams. If Stafford's playing, that's not a gimme for the Ravens, but we could give that to them. Then you got Jacksonville, San Fran, Miami, and Pittsburgh. Those are all coin toss type of games. Say they go 2-2. That gets them to 12-5. And we got them the last game of the season, which means like we control our destiny. All we got to do is beat Baltimore. We really just got to beat Baltimore. Win the games you're supposed to. Seattle, Baltimore game, whatever. You could give up the Seattle game. I don't want that to happen, obviously, because if we go undefeated, if we go 6-0, you got a legitimate chance for the 1 seed. 12-4, and then it comes down to tiebreakers between like us, the Chiefs, or the Jaguars, some of those other top AFC teams. But I think schedule is going to play a factor. Ultimately, we do control our destiny. If we win out, we win the AFC. Not crazy. Those first 4 games, we are favorited in. Seattle, Baltimore. We already beat Baltimore. Seattle, I don't think they're that amazing. And then Ravens have a tough schedule here. Let's see how they do against San Fran. At San Fran. At Jacksonville. Jacksonville beat them last year. Miami. I don't think Tua is that good, but Miami is a solid team. And they got us. So, not only are we getting the best version of the Steelers these last 6 games for the 2023 season, but the schedule's in our favor too. And I think that can matter. Ultimately, it's on us. We got to win the games, but with the Ravens having the toughest schedule remaining and us having the 7th easiest, that could play into a game swing in our favor. But yeah, that's how we win the AFC North. Good team right now. Hitting our stride, getting hot at the right time. Schedule in our favor. And especially schedule in our favor compared to the team we're going to be competing with for the AFC North, the Ravens, who have a schedule that's not in their favor. Toughest schedule remaining. That's it. Nothing crazy here. Nothing crazy. Campoledenic says, can easily see the Steelers going 12-5. He also says Lamar is playing with an injury as well. I didn't know that. What's he hurt with? Oh, are you talking about the one he suffered the Thursday night game? Yeah, I got you with that. So, all right. He's still a little banged up from that. I got you. Jay Brown Steelers says the only way to win games is to score points, not get 400 yards per. That's what I was thinking as we were creeping up to the 400 yards against the Bengals. I'm like, what goes to 400 yards if we lose the game? Because it's still a 1-score game. If we botch something up here, you can forget the 400 yards. We need points. We need the win. I got to give Lamar credit, though. He has been – this is probably the best football he's played since his MVP year. Probably the best he's done as a passer, too. I'll give him credit. But we know the Steelers have his number. Lamar really doesn't do anything crazy against us. If anything, he just turns the ball over multiple times. I think he's averaging at least 2 turnovers against us when he plays. Emanzeris says, Deep, don't you think it's crazy to think that the Steelers could potentially have 2,000-yard rushers this year, each to average about 65, 70 a game for the remaining games, which is doable? Yeah, I talked about that last stream. You see Najee's almost at 600. Jaylen Warren's at like 550 yards. That's all they need, and that's not crazy. And especially if one of them goes off for one of these remaining games for like $120 or $130, like that's only going to help the average. Just Steelers giving a prediction for Cardinal Steelers says 23-14 Steelers. I like that. Give us some more points, though. Give us like 28. I think 28-14 is the number. 28-13. I think that's what we get. T. Schneider Bauer, this is the time of year where Lamar gets hurt. Never available for the playoffs. Yeah, the last 2 years. Now he's got that contract, though. I don't know if that changes things. He's got the contract. He's got the security. So even if he is a little banged up, he can go out there and risk it. Roman Glow 13. Any chance Steelers go after Marcus Peters? Doubtful. Oh, you know who I did want to bring up, though? I had this as one of my quick notes. Darius Leonard. I know we were interested in the Steelers bringing him on because he was cut by the Colts. Visited with the Eagles, or is visiting with the Eagles. Already visited with the Cowboys, and he's set to make a decision by the end of the week. So it's not looking like Leonard is in serious consideration for coming to Pittsburgh. It is what it is. Not the end of the world. Would have been cool to have him. I don't think would have been the biggest of risks to bring him on, but could have been good reward. See if he could turn back to the Leonard of old. Instead of Shaq Leonard, he could have turned back to Darius Leonard. Who's Griffin? Amon Zares. Griffin on the waiver block now? Who's Griffin? The cornerback? Is that what you're talking about? I think we're kind of good, man. I think we're kind of good. I like where we're at in the secondary. I feel like we have a nice hierarchy of JP as our lockdown guy. Pat P, good compliment. Second. Shannon Sullivan working the slot. Levi Wallace is CB3. And then we're going to get Minka back, too. And Minka can play some slot. He can move all over the place, too, if we need him to. I think we're in a good spot with secondary and just the defense as a whole. C. Miller 61, you going to the game, Deke? I think I am. I think I might be. Stay tuned. But all right, I think that's it, man. I think that's it for today's show. Hope you guys enjoyed, as always. Had a good time. I got through it with the heat in the house. I got through it. I managed. Shout out to the Terrible Towel. But, yeah, stay chilling. It's going to be easy, too, here in Pittsburgh. It's cold right now. But the weather's going to improve for the game. I think it's going to be like 50 degrees on Sunday when we play the Cardinals. So I'm out of here. Again, hope you enjoyed. Follow me on the app at Deke_. Follow me on social media at Chillin' with Deke if you haven't already. I'm sure you guys have. But shout out to Bleach Report. Have me back. And peace out.